The massive crystal display illuminated the faces of 12 council members with its soft blue glow. High Commander Stone stood before it, his gray fingers moving through the holographic data as he studied the latest reports from the Primitive Species Observation Unit. Everything was normal, just like it had been for the past 1,000 years. Species 2847 was still fighting over land with wooden spears. Species 3562 had finally discovered fire. Species 4891 was beginning to form basic tribal structures. Then his hand stopped at Earth's data stream. Something was wrong. He checked the timestamps again. "This can't be right," he muttered, his 3 eyes blinking in sequence. "Run the analysis again." The computer hummed softly. "Analysis confirmed, High Commander. The data is correct." The other council members shifted in their seats, sensing their leader's unease. Stone turned to face them, his usually calm face showing signs of worry. "Look at these progression markers," he said, expanding the Earth data across the main screen. This species went from basic tools to powered flight in less than 10,000 years. From their first powered flight to reaching their moon in just 66 years. Elder Ross leaned forward, adjusting his viewing lens. "That's impossible. No species develops that fast. It must be an error." "It's not," Stone replied. He pulled up more data streams. "They're called humans, and they're breaking every development pattern we've ever recorded. Look at this. They developed digital computers, split the atom, and achieved spaceflight, all within the same century." The council chamber filled with worried whispers. Every species in the galaxy followed a predictable pattern of development. It was a natural law, as unchangeable as gravity. A species would discover fire, spend several thousand years developing basic tools, then slowly progress through various technological ages. Each step took time for the species to adapt, to ensure stable development. But humans weren't following the pattern. "Show us their current status," commanded Elder Ross. Stone brought up live feeds from the observation satellites hidden in Earth's orbit. Images filled the screens. Crowded cities, vehicles moving at high speeds, flying machines crossing vast oceans, and space stations orbiting their planet. "They've achieved all this while still fighting among themselves," Stone noted, his voice heavy with concern. "Most species unite before reaching this level of technology. Humans have somehow advanced because of their divisions, not in spite of them. Their adaptation rate is what concerns me most," said Council Member Green, speaking up for the first time. She was the youngest on the council, known for her unconventional viewpoints. "Look at how they handle problems." She stood and walked to the display, bringing up specific examples. When they faced a deadly virus, they developed vaccines in less than a year. When they needed more computing power, they moved from room-sized machines to handheld devices in just a few decades. When they ran into an engineering problem in space, they solved it using paper clips and duct tape. "What's duct tape?" asked someone from the back. "That's exactly my point," Green continued. "They create new tools constantly, then find hundreds of ways to use them that weren't intended. They adapt existing technology in ways we've never seen before." Stone nodded grimly. "And now they're looking to the stars. Their primitive faster-than-light drive experiments have already begun. At their current rate of development." He let the thought hang in the air. The council chamber fell silent. Everyone knew what it meant. Most species took at least 5,000 years after discovering spaceflight before they achieved FTL travel. Humans would likely do it in less than a century. "We should contact them now," suggested one council member. "Bring them into the galactic community, guide their development, and risk them gaining access to our technology," countered another. "At their patterns, weaknesses, strengths, anything that might help us understand how they think and adapt." Stone turned back to the displays, watching the endless stream of human activity. "We need to know if they're a threat." The tests began immediately. The Council adjusted the quantum field around Earth's solar system, making certain rare elements slightly harder to obtain. They expected this to slow down human technological development. 3 months later, Green presented her first report. They didn't just find ways around the element shortage, she explained, her voice filled with a mixture of admiration and fear. They developed better technologies that don't need those elements at all. Their obstacle became a catalyst for innovation. Stone watched the new data streams with growing concern. Humans were pushing into space more aggressively now. Their International Space Station had been joined by private space stations. Companies were mining asteroids. They were planning colonies on their moon and Mars. "Look at this," Green said, highlighting a specific data point. When they face a problem, they don't just seek one solution. They try hundreds of different approaches simultaneously. Their failures don't discourage them. They learn from each one. It's like watching thousands of years of natural development compressed into months. The Council spent the next 6 months observing and testing. They introduced more barriers. Each time, humans found a way around them, or through them. Sometimes, they even turned the obstacles into advantages. "I believe I understand now," Green announced during an emergency council session. Other species develop linearly. Each discovery leads to the next in a predictable pattern. Humans develop chaotically. They make connections between seemingly unrelated things. They take technology developed for one purpose and apply it to something completely different. They don't wait for one technology to mature before beginning another. Stone studied the latest reports from Earth. Their space programs were advancing faster than ever. Private companies were competing with governments, driving innovation at unprecedented rates. Their computer technology was evolving so fast that the Council's predictive models couldn't keep up. "We need to make a decision," Stone finally said. At their current rate of development, they'll achieve functional faster than light travel within 20 years. Within a century, they could surpass our current technology level. We've never faced a situation like this. The council chamber erupted in debate. Some argued for immediate contact, others for containment, and a few even suggested more drastic measures. Stone silenced them all with a raised hand. "We will continue to watch and gather data, but we must also prepare. Humanity isn't following any pattern we understand. They're not just a primitive species anymore. They're something we've never seen before. And they're coming to the stars, whether we're ready or not." As the council session ended, Green lingered behind, studying the Earth feeds. She watched humans going about their daily lives, building, creating, solving problems, and constantly pushing forward. A small smile crossed her face as she realized something that the others hadn't yet understood. The council wasn't just watching a primitive species develop. They were watching evolution happening at an unprecedented speed. And deep down, she knew that the universe would never be the same once humans fully emerged from their cradle called Earth. The Council's first test was simple. They increased the solar radiation around Earth's orbit by a small percentage. According to their models, this would force humans to slow down their space program until they developed better shielding technology. That process should have taken at least 5 years. It took humans 3 weeks. Captain Walker stood in the testing chamber of the International Space Center, watching as engineers swarmed around the new shielding prototype. Nobody understood why the radiation levels had suddenly increased, but that wasn't important. What mattered was solving the problem. "Run the test again," Walker ordered, his eyes fixed on the radiation meters. The new shield was unlike anything they'd built before. When traditional materials had failed, someone had suggested using water as a radiation shield. Then another engineer proposed freezing it in specific patterns. A third added magnetic fields to the mix. The meters dropped to 0. "It works better than the old shields," one engineer said, checking the data. "And it's lighter. We can actually fit more cargo on the ships now." Walker smiled. What had started as a crisis had turned into an improvement. He didn't know it, but high above Earth's orbit, Council Member Green was updating her report with trembling fingers. They didn't just solve the problem, she told the Council later that day. They turned it into an advantage. The new shielding technology they developed is more efficient than our own. High Commander Stone frowned. Increase the challenge. Let's see how they handle something more difficult. The Council's next tests targeted Earth's electronic systems. They introduced subtle interference that should have disrupted long-range communications. Most species took decades to develop workarounds for such problems. Humans found a solution in their oceans. Look at this, Walker said, pointing to his screen during an emergency meeting of space agency leaders. The dolphins do it all the time. They use sound waves to communicate through water over vast distances. We just needed to adapt the principle. Within months, humans had developed new communication systems based on principles they observed in nature. When those systems proved more reliable than traditional ones, they started using them everywhere. Space communications became clearer than ever. The Council watched in disbelief. They're learning from their own planet, Green observed. Things that other species overlook, they study and adapt. It's like they see connections that no one else does. But the real shock came when the Council decided to test human problem-solving in a crisis. They carefully destabilized the orbit of a small asteroid, sending it on a course that would bring it close to Earth. Not close enough to be dangerous, but enough to cause concern. According to their models, humans would take months to calculate a solution. Walker was in the control room when they detected the asteroid. How long do we have? 2 weeks until closest approach, his team reported. Traditional rockets won't reach it in time. What happened next amazed even the Council. Instead of panicking, humans everywhere began proposing solutions. Universities opened their supercomputers for orbital calculations. Private space companies offered their resources. Engineers worked around the clock. Someone suggested using the Earth's gravity to slingshot a small craft at unprecedented speed. Another proposed breaking up the asteroid instead of deflecting it. A third wanted to try changing its course using reflected sunlight. They tried all 3 approaches simultaneously. This is unprecedented, Green reported to the Council. Most species would seek consensus on the best solution before acting. Humans are pursuing multiple solutions at once, learning from each attempt. The gravity slingshot failed. The solar reflection proved too slow. But the plan to break up the asteroid worked, using a combination of techniques that the Council had never seen before. Humans had combined mining explosives with precise orbital mechanics and the new communication systems they'd developed earlier. They learned from their failures as much as their successes. Green noted, each failed attempt teaches them something new, which they immediately apply to other problems. The Council's next test involved creating unusual readings in their planetary scans, signals that suggested rare elements in unexpected places. They wanted to see how humans would handle conflicting data. Instead of being confused, humans got excited. Walker found himself leading a new project to investigate the strange readings. Teams worldwide were detecting similar anomalies. Rather than dismiss them as errors, humans began developing new scanning technologies to study them. If our instruments are showing impossible things, Walker told his team, then either our instruments are wrong or we don't understand what's possible. Either way, we learned something. The new scanning technology they developed was so sensitive it detected things that even the Council's instruments missed. Humans began finding resources in places they never expected, making space mining more efficient than ever. They don't just solve problems, Green explained to a stunned Council. They use each challenge to advance in multiple areas at once. The radiation problem led to better shields. The communication issue gave them new ways to transmit data. The asteroid threat advanced their propulsion and explosion control technology. The scan anomalies improved their detection capabilities. High Commander Stone studied the latest data with growing concern. How close are they to faster-than-light travel? Green brought up the relevant files. They're approaching it from 12 different directions. Some are working on warp fields, others on space folding. They're even exploring concepts we've never considered, and they're sharing their research globally. That's what makes them so dangerous, Stone realized. Other species develop one technology at a time, perfecting it before moving on. Humans develop everything simultaneously, finding connections we never imagined. The final test was meant to be the hardest. The Council created a quantum anomaly near Jupiter, something that should have been impossible according to human understanding of physics. Walker and scientists worldwide spent weeks studying the anomaly. Their existing theories couldn't explain it. Instead of giving up, they started creating new theories. Our understanding of physics must be incomplete, was the conclusion that echoed through research centers worldwide. Within months, humans had developed 3 new branches of theoretical physics trying to explain what they were seeing. "Stop the tests," Stone ordered finally. "Every obstacle we put in their way makes them stronger. Every problem we present teaches them something new. They're advancing too fast." Green looked at the latest data from Earth. Humans were already building prototype engines based on their new physics theories. They had turned the Council's quantum anomaly into a learning opportunity, and now they were on the verge of discovering principles that had taken other species millennia to understand. "What do we do?" asked Elder Ross. "They're approaching breakthrough faster than anyone predicted." Stone watched the feeds from Earth, showing humans working tirelessly in labs, factories, and space stations around their world. "We prepare," he said finally. "They'll reach the stars soon, and they'll bring with them something we've never seen before, the ability to turn any challenge into an opportunity, any obstacle into an advantage." In his office on Earth, Walker looked up at the night sky. The strange readings near Jupiter had faded, but what they'd learned from studying them had opened up new possibilities. Humans were on the brink of something big. He could feel it. He didn't know about the Council or their tests. He didn't know that aliens had been watching and testing humanity. All he knew was that every problem they faced made them stronger. Every challenge pushed them further, and the stars were getting closer every day. In her private chamber, Green added a final note to her report. "Perhaps what makes humans most dangerous isn't their technology or their adaptability. It's their relentless drive to turn the impossible into the possible. For them, every barrier is just another puzzle to solve, every obstacle just another chance to learn. And they never, ever stop learning." Dr. Green stood before the Council, her analysis of human history displayed on the massive screens behind her. The data made several Council members shift uncomfortably in their seats. "You have to understand," she began. "Humans don't just advance differently than other species. They advance because of what should hold them back. Their conflicts and competitions drive their progress in ways we've never seen before." She brought up images from human history. "Look at this pattern. 2 human nations compete, trying to reach their moon first. Instead of sharing resources and working together like most species would, they race against each other. The result? They achieve in a decade what should have taken a century." High Commander Stone watched the historical footage with growing concern. "Show them the military development data." Green nodded, changing the display. "This is where it gets truly frightening. Most species develop weapons as a last resort. Humans, they develop weapons first, then find peaceful applications for the technology." The screens showed the history of human nuclear research. "They split the atom to make a weapon," Green explained. "But then they turned that same technology into power plants. They developed rockets for war, then used them to reach space. Their first computers were built to calculate weapon trajectories. Now they use them to advance medicine and science." "That's backwards," Elder Ross protested. "Development should flow from peaceful applications to defensive ones, not the other way around." "Exactly," Green agreed. "But that's what makes them so dangerous and so remarkable. They don't follow normal patterns. Their military research into artificial intelligence led to breakthroughs in environmental protection. Their space warfare studies resulted in new methods of asteroid mining." She brought up more recent data. "And they're getting faster. Their latest breakthrough in quantum computing came from 6 different teams competing against each other. They didn't share data or cooperate. They competed. And because they took different approaches, they discovered things no single team would have found alone. The council chamber filled with murmurs of concern. On the screens, human history continued to play out. Each conflict, each competition driving progress at an alarming rate. "What about their divisions?" asked another council member. "Surely their lack of unity slows them down." Green smiled sadly. "That's what we thought at first. But look at this." She showed data from recent years. Different nations develop different specialties. When they need to solve a big problem, they don't need everyone to agree. They just need a few groups to work on it. While some humans deny their climate is changing, others develop solutions. While some resist new technology, others push it forward. She zoomed in on specific examples. This nation excels at miniaturization. That one leads in artificial intelligence. Another pioneers biotechnology. They don't wait for consensus. Progress happens in pockets, then spreads. "But that's so inefficient," Elder Ross protested. "Is it?" Green challenged. "While one human nation deliberates, another acts. While one group hesitates, another pushes forward. Their progress isn't simply fast, it's resilient. Stopping humans would mean stopping all of them, everywhere, at once." She brought up images from human entertainment, their movies, books, and games. Look at how they think about the future. Other species imagine unity and peace. Humans imagine challenges, conflicts, problems to solve. Even in their dreams of tomorrow, they're preparing for obstacles. The screen showed clips from human science fiction. Stories of space wars, alien invasions, cosmic disasters. They don't just prepare for real problems. Green continued. They imagine new ones, then start solving them before they even exist. They have teams working on how to deflect asteroids, despite no immediate threat. They research how to terraform planets they haven't reached yet. They prepare for alien contact even though they think they're alone in the universe. High Commander Stone stood up. "Show them the adaptation analysis." Green nodded grimly. The screens filled with graphs and charts. "This is what happens when humans face an existential threat. This spike here, a global pandemic. Within months, they developed multiple vaccines using technology they'd never tried before. This one, an economic crisis. They created new financial systems and digital currencies in response." She highlighted specific examples. When traditional materials failed, they developed composites. When silicon chips reached their limits, they started working on quantum computers. When fossil fuels caused problems, they accelerated renewable energy development. They don't just solve problems. They use problems as springboards to leap forward. "Surely they must have weaknesses," someone suggested. "Their greatest weakness might be their greatest strength," Green replied. "They're impatient. They don't wait for perfect solutions. They try something, anything, everything. Most attempts fail, but they learn from each failure. And because different groups tried different approaches, something usually works." She showed more recent data. Right now, there are humans working on teleportation. Others research time manipulation. Still others explore consciousness transfer. Most of these projects will fail, but they'll learn something from each failure, and they'll use that knowledge in unexpected ways. "What do you recommend?" Stone asked quietly. Green took a deep breath. "We've been thinking about this wrong. We see their division as chaos, their competition as wasteful, their conflicts as dangerous. But that's how they advance. Every attempt to slow them down has only made them stronger. Every barrier we create becomes a challenge they overcome." The screens behind her showed Earth, a blue marble spinning in space, teeming with billions of humans all pushing in different directions at once. "They're not just a possible threat to the universe," she concluded. "They're an inevitable force of change. The question isn't whether they'll reach the stars. It's what happens when they do." The council chamber fell silent. On the screens, humans continued their relentless march forward, competing, conflicting, failing, learning, advancing. In labs and workshops around their world, they worked on problems no one had asked them to solve, prepared for challenges that didn't yet exist, and pushed the boundaries of what their own science said was possible. "We need to decide soon," Stone said finally. "At their current rate of progress, they'll achieve interstellar travel within decades, and when they reach the stars, they won't come as a unified, peaceful species. They'll come as they are, diverse, competitive, innovative, and unstoppable." Green watched the data streams from Earth, showing countless humans working on countless projects in countless ways. "Perhaps," she suggested, "that's exactly why they're so dangerous and so valuable. They don't just adapt to the universe, they make the universe adapt to them." The Council's decision to reveal themselves to humanity came sooner than planned. Humans had somehow detected their quantum observation satellites, and several research teams were getting dangerously close to discovering the truth. Better to control first contact than wait for humans to stumble upon them. Commander Ray watched the massive alien ship descend through Earth's atmosphere with a mixture of awe and suspicion. As head of Earth's newly formed United Space Defense Force, he had expected first contact would come eventually. He just hadn't expected it quite so soon. The ship landed in a neutral location, a specially prepared field in New Zealand. Representatives from every major nation gathered to witness the historic moment. The Council had chosen this approach carefully, believing that offering membership in the Galactic Federation would be the best way to contain humanity's rapid advancement. High Commander Stone stepped out of the ship, flanked by Council Member Green and several other alien representatives. The practiced speech he had prepared died in his throat as he noticed something unsettling. Many humans were already recording, scanning, and analyzing his ship with handheld devices. "We come in peace," Stone began, his words automatically translated by their advanced technology. "We represent the Galactic Federation, a union of civilized species across the galaxy." Commander Ray noticed something odd about the translation device. The way it converted speech to multiple languages simultaneously was fascinating. He discreetly signaled his technical team to record everything. Stone continued his speech, outlining the benefits of joining the Federation. Access to approved technologies, trade routes, cultural exchange, all carefully regulated, of course. He explained the necessary restrictions, limits on faster-than-light research, controlled access to advanced technology, supervised development programs. The human representatives listened politely. Too politely, Green thought. She noticed their eyes darting between the ship, the translation devices, and the Council members' environmental suits. They weren't just listening. They were studying everything. Within 24 hours of first contact, human scientists had already begun reverse engineering principles from the little they had observed. Commander Ray sat in his underground facility, watching teams of engineers work on multiple projects simultaneously. "The translation device uses quantum entanglement," one scientist explained excitedly. "We captured its emanations. The principles are surprisingly similar to what we were already working on, just more refined." "They're environmental suits," another team reported. "The fabric responds to atmospheric changes. We've already replicated a crude version using our smart material research." Ray smiled. The Council thought they were being careful, showing humans only what they deemed safe. They didn't realize that every piece of advanced technology they brought to Earth was like a textbook to human scientists. In the Council's temporary embassy, Green reviewed the latest reports with growing alarm. "They're adapting too quickly," she told Stone. "Look at these development spikes in the last week alone." The data showed numerous technological leaps in multiple fields. Humans were taking the tiny glimpses of advanced technology they had seen and extrapolating new possibilities. "Impossible," Stone muttered. "We haven't given them access to any restricted technology yet. They're still in the evaluation phase." "They're not waiting for access," Green explained. "They're learning just by observing. That ship you landed in, human scientists are already publishing papers about its propulsion principles. The translation devices, They're rebuilding them from scratch. Ray walked through his facility's research section, watching dozens of teams working on different aspects of alien technology. One group had already improved on the Council's environmental suit design, making it more efficient. Another had taken the principles of the translation device and was applying them to computer networks. "The restrictions aren't working," he told his superiors later that day. "Every time they tell us we can't do something, we find 3 different ways to do it anyway." The Council's carefully planned technology sharing program fell apart within months. They would introduce a carefully controlled piece of technology, only to find humans had already developed something similar, often better, just from studying the principles involved. When the Council restricted access to their quantum communication network, humans built their own, using principles they had reverse-engineered from the translation devices. When advanced materials were declared off-limits, humans developed alternatives using Earth-based resources in ways the Council had never considered. "This is unprecedented," Stone declared during an emergency council session. "They're not just learning our technology, they're improving it. And worse, they're combining it with their own developments in unexpected ways." Green showed the latest data. "Look at this. We restricted their access to our medical technology. Instead of waiting, they combined their primitive stem cell research with principles they learned from our environmental suits. They're growing replacement organs with built-in environmental adaptation abilities." In his facility, Ray reviewed the latest breakthroughs. His teams had taken the quantum entanglement principles from the translation devices and combined them with Earth's crude AI systems, creating something entirely new. Another group had adapted the alien ship's hull material technology to improve solar panel efficiency. "Every restriction they place on us," he told his team, "is just another challenge to overcome. Every technology they hide from us is just another puzzle to solve." The Council watched in growing concern as their carefully planned intervention backfired spectacularly. Humans didn't just find ways around their restrictions, they used the restrictions themselves as inspiration for new developments. "We need to reconsider our approach," Green suggested to Stone. "The more we try to contain them, the more they innovate. The more we restrict them, the more they create alternatives. We're not controlling their development, we're accelerating it." Stone looked at the latest reports from Earth. Humans had taken their simple environmental suits and developed an entire new field of adaptive materials. They had glimpsed the Council's quantum communications and created hybrid systems that worked in ways the Council's scientists hadn't thought possible. "Perhaps," he said slowly, "we need to stop thinking of them as a primitive species to be controlled. They've turned our every attempt at containment into an opportunity for growth." Ray stood at his facility's window, watching teams of scientists and engineers work tirelessly below. The Council thought their restrictions would slow humanity's progress. Instead, they had given humans glimpses of what was possible, and that was all humanity needed. A glimpse of the possible to turn it into reality. Green added a note to her final report of the day. "Our intervention has had the opposite effect than intended. By trying to restrict human development, we have instead given them targets to aim for, puzzles to solve, and challenges to overcome. In our attempt to contain humanity, we have shown them exactly what they are capable of achieving. And now, nothing will stop them from reaching those achievements, with or without our help." The stars shone brightly outside Ray's window, seeming closer than ever before. The Council had meant to limit humanity's reach for those stars. Instead, they had only made humanity's grasp stronger, their determination greater, and their progress unstoppable. The emergency alarm blared through the Council chambers, its urgent tone cutting through all other sounds. High Commander Stone rushed to the central display, where a holographic representation of the galaxy flickered with an ominous red warning. "Show me," he commanded. The display zoomed in on the outer rim of the galaxy. A massive swarm of mechanical entities was moving through space, consuming everything in its path. Planets, asteroids, even entire star systems disappeared into the swarm, broken down into raw materials to create more of the machines. "The Von 8 cluster," Elder Ross whispered. We thought they were just a legend. Green studied the data streaming across her screen. They're real, and they're heading toward populated systems. At their current speed, they'll reach the first inhabited worlds in 6 months. The council erupted into chaos. Some demanded immediate evacuation of the threatened systems. Others argued for building defensive platforms. A few suggested surrendering entire sectors of space to buy time. In the midst of their debate, Commander Ray was receiving the same information on Earth. The Council hadn't meant to share this threat with humans, but their improved quantum communication networks had intercepted the data. "Show me the composition of these machines," Ray ordered his science team. The analysis appeared on his screen. Self-replicating robots designed to consume and convert all matter they encountered. They operated with a single directive: expand and multiply. While the Council debated, Earth moved into action. Ray watched as research teams worldwide switched focus immediately. No formal agreement was needed, no lengthy discussions about approach. Different teams simply began attacking the problem from different angles. "They're networked," one team reported, analyzing the swarm's communication patterns. Each unit shares data with the others, like a giant mechanical nervous system. "Their conversion process leaves trace radiation," another team discovered. "We can track their movements using the quantum detection systems we reversed engineered from the Council's tech." Ray smiled grimly. The Council had tried to restrict human access to advanced technology, but that had only forced humans to develop their own versions. Now those developments might save the galaxy. In the Council chambers, the debate continued. "We need a unified response," Stone insisted. "All species must work together." He was interrupted by Green rushing into the chamber. "The humans," she said breathlessly. "They're already working on it." The main display shifted to show activity across Earth. Thousands of scientists and engineers were working simultaneously on different aspects of the problem. Some focused on the swarm's physical structure, others on its programming, still others on its behavioral patterns. "They're not waiting for permission," Green explained. "They're not even waiting for a unified plan. Different teams are trying different approaches simultaneously." Stone watched in amazement as humans applied their chaotic, competitive approach to the crisis. When one team's approach failed, 3 others were already trying different methods. They shared data but not direction, each group following their own theories and hunches. "Look at this," Green pointed to new data. "They're combining technologies in ways we never considered. They've taken their primitive AI systems and merged them with our quantum communication principles. They're developing something entirely new." Ray stood in his facility's main lab, surrounded by holographic displays showing the latest test results. One team had developed a way to infect the swarm's network with a modified version of Earth's computer viruses. Another had created nanobots that could corrupt the swarm's replication process. "The trick isn't stopping them," he explained to his global colleagues in a quantum-linked conference. "It's turning them. Everything they consume, they convert to make more of themselves. So let's change what they are." The Council watched in astonishment as humans implemented multiple strategies simultaneously. They launched specialized probes toward the swarm, each carrying different countermeasures. When the first approach failed, they already had 3 more ready. "This is why they're so dangerous," Green told Stone privately. Other species would test each solution thoroughly before trying it. Humans try everything at once, learning from each failure in real time. The first breakthrough came from an unexpected direction. A team in India had combined principles from nature with advanced technology, creating nanobots that could spread through the swarm like a virus spreads through a population. "Look at their approach," Green marveled. "They're not just fighting the swarm, they're reprogramming it. Every unit they convert begins converting others." Ray watched the first contact between human countermeasures and the swarm. The Council had predicted it would take years to stop the machines. It took humans 3 weeks to turn them. "We didn't just stop them," he explained to the Council later. "We changed their basic programming. Now, instead of consuming and destroying, they seek out dead systems and rebuild them." The converted swarm began moving through space with new purpose. Where they had once consumed life, they now restored it. Dead planets were rebuilt, asteroids were reformed into habitable structures, and space itself was transformed. In the council chambers, Stone watched the data with a mix of awe and fear. They turned the greatest threat our galaxy has ever faced into a tool for expansion and creation, he said quietly, and they did it in ways we never imagined possible. Green nodded. They didn't just solve the problem, they turned it into an opportunity. This is what makes humans so uniquely dangerous. They don't just overcome threats, they convert them into advantages. Ray stood at his window again, watching the night sky. The converted swarm was visible now, a faint blue shimmer among the stars. What the Council had seen as an unstoppable threat, humans had seen as a challenge to overcome, a technology to master, a tool to repurpose. Perhaps, Green wrote in her report that night, what makes humans truly dangerous isn't their technology or their adaptability, or even their competitive nature. It's their ability to see possibilities where others see only threats. In their hands, the very force that could have destroyed our galaxy has become the means to rebuild and expand it. The Council gathered to discuss this latest development, but they all knew the truth. Humanity hadn't just saved the galaxy, they had changed it forever. And in doing so, they had proven themselves to be exactly what the Council had feared, the most dangerous and transformative species the universe had ever encountered. The Council chamber felt different now. Where once the massive halls had echoed with debates about containing humanity, now they sat in thoughtful silence as Green presented her final analysis. The data screens behind her told a story that none of them could ignore any longer. We were wrong, she began simply. We saw humanity's chaos as a weakness, their competition as a flaw, their diversity as a problem to be solved. We were wrong about all of it. The screens showed scenes from the past year, the conversion of the machine swarm, the restoration of dead solar systems, the transformation of asteroid fields into habitable spaces, all achieved through methods that broke every rule the Council had tried to impose. High Commander Stone nodded slowly. Show them the development comparison. Green brought up new data. This chart shows technological development across known species. Every other civilization follows a predictable pattern, steady, controlled progress along expected lines. She gestured to a wildly erratic line that shot up and down but trended sharply upward. This is humanity. Commander Ray entered the chamber, now serving as humanity's first representative to the Council. He had watched his species break every restriction, solve every crisis, and transform every threat into an opportunity. Now he would help shape the future they had fought so hard to reach. Your chaos is your strength, Green continued, addressing Ray directly. When the swarm threatened us, the Council tried to find one perfect solution. Humans tried thousands of imperfect solutions simultaneously. You failed faster, learned faster, and succeeded faster than any species we've ever encountered. The screens showed human research teams worldwide, still working on countless projects. Some were using the converted swarm technology to terraform dead planets. Others had combined Council technology with human innovation to create new forms of faster-than-light travel. Still others were developing ways to stabilize dying stars. Look at how they work, Green pointed out. No central direction, no unified plan. Thousands of teams trying different approaches. When one fails, they learn from it. When one succeeds, they all build on it. It's not chaos. It's adaptation at a scale we've never seen before. Stone stood, his three eyes focusing on Ray. We tried to make you conform to our way of thinking. We tried to control your development, restrict your growth, guide you along the paths other species followed. We failed to understand that your path, chaotic as it seems to us, is precisely what makes you unique. Ray smiled, remembering how every restriction had become a challenge, every barrier a puzzle to solve. We don't see limits the same way you do, he explained. When you tell us something is impossible, we don't accept it. We try to prove you wrong. When you show us a threat, we look for ways to turn it into an asset. The screen showed the converted swarm at work, transforming dead space into living systems. What had once been the galaxy's greatest threat was now its greatest tool for expansion and renewal. "This is why you're dangerous," Green said, but her tone held admiration rather than fear. "Other species advance by building on what they know. Humans advance by challenging what they think they know. You don't just solve problems, you transform them into opportunities." The council members watched as more data streamed in. Human innovations were spreading throughout the galaxy. Their hybrid technologies, combinations of Earth science and alien principles, were solving problems that had plagued advanced civilizations for millennia. "We propose a new role for humanity," Stone announced, "not as a species to be contained or controlled, but as the galaxy's rapid response and innovation force. When conventional solutions fail, when threats seem insurmountable, when we need to think differently, we turn to humans." Ray considered this. "You're not afraid of us anymore." "Oh, we're terrified," Green admitted with a smile. "You're unpredictable, uncontrollable, and unstoppable. But we've learned that those qualities are exactly what the galaxy needs. Your chaos brings creation. Your competition breeds innovation. Your diversity drives adaptation." The screen showed new human colonies spreading across the stars, each developing in its own unique way. Some focused on biological sciences, others on physics, still others on cultural exchange with alien species. No two took the same approach, yet all contributed to humanity's explosive growth. "You are the greatest threat to the universe," Stone concluded, "but not in the way we first thought. You threaten stagnation. You threaten complacency. You threaten the idea that there is only one right way to advance." The council chamber filled with light as a holographic display of the galaxy appeared, showing human influence spreading like stars igniting in the dark. Each point of light represented a different human innovation, a different solution to age-old problems, a different way of thinking about what was possible. "We don't just adapt to survive," Ray explained to the assembled council. "We adapt because we can't help ourselves. Every challenge you give us makes us stronger. Every barrier you create teaches us something new. Every threat we face becomes a tool for progress." Green added one final note to her report, the last she would write about humanity's threat to the universe. "In trying to protect the galaxy from humanity's chaos, we nearly deprived it of exactly what it needed most, a species that refuses to accept limitations, that turns threats into opportunities, and that sees in every challenge a chance to become something more than they were before." The stars shone brighter that night, as if reflecting the new future taking shape. Humanity had not just reached the stars, they had begun to transform them, one impossible solution at a time. And the universe, vast and ancient as it was, would never be the same again. For in the end, humanity's greatest threat to the universe was not their violence or their technology, or even their unpredictability. It was their relentless drive to prove that impossible was just another word for hasn't been done yet.